Right now, tens of thousands of massive steel hulls are cutting through the oceans, carrying the majority of physical goods we interact with daily. Keeping one of these floating leviathans moving requires immense daily capital expenditure. A carrier burns through massive amounts of cash on fuel, crew, and maintenance every day a ship is at sea. If a shipping line sails that vessel even partially empty, they are burning cash on unused steel and air. The operational costs remain nearly identical, but the revenue drops, wasting millions of dollars in unrealized capacity. At the same time, commercial demands are relentless. To survive against competitors, shipping lines have to offer their customers frequent, reliable connections to every major global port. A client shipping goods from Asia to Europe requires high-frequency departures, not occasional sailings. But expanding independently to meet that demand is a financial trap. Purchasing and deploying an entirely separate fleet of ships for every single trade route requires bankrupting levels of capital investment. The physical requirements and operating costs of these vessels create a massive logistical bottleneck. Companies must expand their global network coverage and frequency, but they cannot afford to run entirely independent fleets that might cross the ocean half-empty. To solve this bottleneck, container carriers rely on a strategic corporate mechanism called a Vessel Sharing Agreement, or VSA. Suppose Line A and Line B operate the same route. Instead of sailing two half-empty ships, they pool cargo to operate a single joint service. Internally, they share vessel capacity, receiving a strictly agreed-upon allocation of slots. But commercially, the lines remain totally distinct, selling cargo space completely independently to their own customers. A vessel sharing agreement is strictly an operational partnership. It is not a corporate merger. The participating lines maintain their separate commercial identities and remain fierce competitors in the open market. This coordination allows these rivals to unlock massive economies of scale. By combining their cargo volumes into shared fleets, they can spread fixed vessel costs over a much larger amount of freight, maximizing efficiency without taking on the total financial risk alone. Pooling cargo via VSAs creates a secondary effect. Participating lines can now deploy increasingly massive next-generation container megaships. Look at the sheer scale of this Hyundai Force vessel. By combining demand, carriers can efficiently fill these hyper-efficient giants that would otherwise be entirely too large for a single company to justify. But these leviathans introduce a strict physical limitation. A ship of this size requires exceptionally deep draft depths to stay afloat, as well as giant industrial hardware, like these massive RWG cranes to load and unload properly. Standard maritime ports simply lack the dimensions to service them. This sets off a geopolitical ripple effect. If a nation wishes to attract this highly efficient, consolidated global trade to its shores, it has to rapidly upgrade its physical coastal infrastructure to meet the demands of the ships. The corporate agreements made in boardrooms have outgrown the physical layout of older ports, sparking a high-stakes global race to build modern maritime hubs capable of handling the largest vessels on Earth. India is currently launching an aggressive national infrastructure strategy specifically designed to capture the economic benefits of this VSA-driven global supply chain. Looking at their western seaboard, India is executing massive upgrades, including the Tuna Tekra terminal in Gujarat and the sprawling Vathavan Glort in Maharashtra. Moving further south along the coastline, they are expanding capacity through the V.O. Chidambaram port at Tuticorin, Tamil Nadu. And to the east, they are developing a crucial strategic node. This is a satellite view of the raw geography of Great Nicobar Island, which is being transformed into the International Container Transshipment Port at Galathea Bay. The mechanical function of these specific megaprojects is highly targeted. They will provide the extreme depth and heavy-duty terminal space necessary to physically accommodate the absolute largest vessels operating in the global fleet. The long-term strategic goal is to transition India's coastline into a central global transshipment hub. By handling these massive shared cargo vessels, India can drastically strengthen its export and import volumes and solidify its position in global shipping. The efficiency of the modern global economy relies entirely on this synergy. Fierce corporate rivals utilize vessel-sharing agreements to share the seas, while rapidly developing nations pour concrete and steel to anchor the colossal megaships of tomorrow.